Well, and you know too. I mean, when we all know what an extraordinary, unique, special person and artist Diane.
Following the passing of the renowned Diane Keaton, Hollywood appeared to go silent in honor of the woman who helped define a whole genre of romantic film. The man who had always been silent like a low musical note, Keanu Reeves, then spoke up in the midst of that tsunami of pain. At a New York premiere, he revealed what we had all assumed for over 2 decades, and his eyes glistened with an unmasked anguish. He and Diane had experienced intense, real, and agonizing love. The whole film industry was silenced by his remarks, which sounded like a belated confession. Diane had let him into her heart on the set in 2002, more than 2 decades before. Keanu was silent, his head dropped, and his eyes were red as he spoke of her injuries from Woody Allen, Warren Beatty, and Al Pacino, begging, "Keanu, don't let me be shattered again. Please don't leave me." Because of the catastrophes in his life, love was unable to blossom. The departure of his best friend River Phoenix, the death of Jennifer Sim in an automobile accident, and the loss of his pregnant daughter Ava. Fear-bound, however, Keanu turned and left. Now he said, "I'm sorry, Diane," in a whisper to the audience. "I will always be in anguish since I abandoned you." Why did Keanu remain mute for 20 years? And what mysteries remain in this tale? Watch this video to learn more about the tragic love story of Diane Keaton and Keanu Reeves. Diane Keaton, then 56, met Keanu Reeves, a 38-year-old actor with jet black hair and a bashful smile, on the dazzling set of Something's Got to Give in Los Angeles one autumn day in 2002. They were filming Nancy Meyers' romantic comedy, in which Reeves played the young doctor who loved her, and Keaton played the witty playwright Erica Berry. Because of their 18-year age difference, Keaton said that kissing Reeves was like kissing my own son, which made both of them nervous during the adorable kissing sequences. Audiences laughed and fantasized about a romance outside of the camera because of the explosive chemistry that resulted from that very awkwardness. The movie made over $266 million, and the names Diane and Keanu started to appear in Hollywood rumors. Rumors of an odd romance started to circulate shortly after the 2003 premiere of the picture. Reeves, who had recently split from fiancée Lynn Collins, was often portrayed in the media as being attracted to Keaton. In Los Angeles, they were spotted together. And there were even rumors that Keaton had gone to Reeves's house in the Hollywood Hills. Private dinners and lengthy phone conversations only served to stoke thermors. People were buzzing. Had the hero of The Matrix truly fallen in love with a lady who was over 20 years older? The pair was referred to as the odd couple, an unusual but alluring fit, on tabloids and gossip sites. However, there were only hazy reports from inside sources, no joint images, and no confirmations. Diane Keaton made a hilarious bombshell on her 2006 appearance on The Oprah Winfrey Show. She smiled mischievously and said, "I'm going to marry Keanu Reeves. He likes older women." The studio laughed, but her comment stoked the gossip again. The media sprang into action, looking for proof in every touch and every look in the film, and in her autobiography. However, Keaton recalled the film's creation with fondness, describing it as her favorite piece and complimenting Reeves on his generosity and kindness. However, she deftly ignored thermers, focusing solely on their work relationship. Never one to affirm or deny anything, Reeves was always reticent. When questioned, he would just grin and call Keaton a great artist. Eventually, thermers died down, but each time they got back together, the flame rekindled. Keaton and Reeves shared the stage at the 2020 Oscars to deliver the Best Original Screenplay prize. They were standing next to each other, making jokes and acting out a scene from their movie. They stoked rumors so much that filmmaker Nancy Meyers wrote on Instagram, "Who knows? Maybe they really were together." Keanu Reeves didn't stand in front of an audience with his eyes heavy with untold stories until October 18, 2025, a week after Diane Keaton's death. The woman who had once won his heart, Diane Keaton, died of pneumonia in her tiny California home on the 11th at the age of 79. Keanu, who was typically as silent as a shadow, finally spilled his heart in front of the E! News cameras. His voice was shaky but genuine. Diane was more than just a co-star. She was a unique individual and a giving artist. We genuinely loved one another. The long-standing rumors weren't merely idle chatter. As though the world had just learned a secret that had been kept for more than 20 years, the throng fell silent. It turns out that the romance between the Matrix hero and Annie Hall's queen of romantic comedy was not a Hollywood fiction. Let's go back to 2002 when Keanu, then 38, entered the Something's Got to Give set. His spirit was still scarred from grief and his dark hair was disheveled. Diane, 56, showed up like a windstorm. Witty, sharp, and able to brighten up a room with a smile. As director Nancy Meyers led them through scenes of Dr. Julian Mercer and author Erica Berry sharing passionate kisses, they first met on autumn days in Los Angeles. But something genuine started to develop outside the screen. Keanu remembered Diane taking his hand, her eyes gleaming, over coffee after filming. Do you realize that love may occasionally surprise you, Keanu? Though his heart was racing, he gave a shy smile but remained silent. Everyone on the set sensed their genuine chemistry, which went beyond simple acting. When Something's Got to Give opened in theaters in 2003 and made over $266 million, the media was ablaze with rumors about this strange pair. Diane reportedly went to Keanu's cottage in the Hollywood Hills, where they talked about art, life, and unmet expectations for hours around the fireside. Diane, as fearless as ever, wrote Keanu handwritten letters around that time that were full of lyrical passages about living in the present. The gossip caught on like wildfire. Keanu had split from Lynn Collins to go after Diane, who was 18 years his senior. They were referred to as the impossible couple on forums. And the world went crazy when Diane said on the Oprah Winfrey Show in 2006, "I'll marry Keanu. He likes older women." Keanu only gave a slight smile. In his heart, however, it was much more nuanced. They had in fact fallen madly and passionately in love after the movie was finished, as Keanu disclosed at the 2025 premiere. They drove down the Pacific Coast Highway during long nights in Los Angeles. Diane was singing old Beatles songs while she sat next to him. Keanu talked about riding his motorbike to get away from the pain, but he was more attracted to Diane's independence. The way she lived without fear, making each moment into a memorable tale. Diane frequently told Keanu about the bits of love that had influenced her life. Silent and focused, Keanu listened to everything she said, his fingers entwined with hers as though he was attempting to cling to the present. Diane's stories were more than recollections. They were profound wounds that were both painful and hopeful. She concluded them by making a request. "My heart has been crushed too many times, Keanu. Please don't hurt me again if you ever enter my life." Diane's narrative started with her first love, Woody Allen, whom she met on Broadway in the late 1960s. And Sam, play it once more. Woody was effortless. "Keanu," she remarked with a hint of melancholy in her voice. He made me laugh until my stomach ached and was intelligent and entertaining. In his small New York apartment, we talked about films, Kafka, and the kind of insanity that no one else could comprehend for hours on end. However, Diane stated that she quickly discovered Woody had no desire to start a family. More than any dedication, he cherished freedom and the arts. Woody only wanted to make pictures, but I needed a place to call home, someone to return to. I don't hold him responsible. But when we parted, my heart ached. She looked at Keanu with a sorrowful grin. "Have you ever been in love with someone who wasn't truly yours?" Though he thought about his former love, Jennifer Sim, Keanu nodded but remained silent. Next, Diane talked about Warren Beatty, who captured her heart in the late 1970s. Keanu, Warren was a dream. I felt like I was living in one of his films because he was so charming, handsome, and romantic. They met in Hollywood through mutual connections. However, it was while she was playing Louise Bryant, a strong but wounded woman on the set of Red's 1981, that their love really blossomed. Because she was frightened of heights, Diane remembered that Beatty had once flown from Los Angeles to New York only to hold her hand. I felt like I was the center of the universe because of him. Warren, however, was unable to remain stationary. He had too many dreams and too many lovers. She ran her fingers through her hair and groaned. I sobbed every night after we split up. However, I discovered that you can't keep a man like that. They are similar to the wind. Lovely, yet unachievable. But it was the story about Al Pacino, the most intense and agonizing love of Diane's life, that brought her to tears and made Keanu tighten his hold on her palm. On the set of The Godfather, they first met in 1971. When 25-year-old Diane played K. Michael Corleone was plagued by Adams and Pacino. "Al was fierce," she said, her eyes sparkling. "Keanu." He grinned like a child and spoke constantly, but his eyes were filled with grief. From the first time I laid eyes on him, I fell in love. Their romance continued intermittently for 15 years, peaking during The Godfather Part 2 in 1974. Diane told him about the late-night arguments they had about screenplays when Pacino was cooking pasta in New York. I believed that he would be my spouse. Al was terrified of getting married, but I dreamed of starting a family. It seemed like a cage, he claimed. Her voice wavered as she paused. In 1987, following Sea of Love, I issued him an ultimatum. I told him, "Marry me or we're done." He decided to break it off and my heart broke. Diane's voice became a whisper as she turned to face the water. With genuine eyes, she looked to Keanu and said, "I don't regret loving Al, but I wish I hadn't hoped so much. Every breakup makes me wonder if I still have the strength to love again." Keanu, you're different. You seem like a kind person with a scarred heart that longs to love. Please don't make me weep again if we begin. Her words carried walls too high for Keanu to scale, but he felt their weight. He wanted to assure Diane that he would keep her safe. However, he remained silent out of dread of losing her, merely tightening his grip on her hand. Because even before the world came to know Keanu as a representation of peaceful solitude, the ghosts of his past still haunted him. He had been a kind young man who hoped to start a little contented family. Keanu first encountered Jennifer Sim, the production assistant for David Lynch, during a film premiere in 1998. She had wild eyes, dark hair, and a little frame. They grew close quite quickly and had days that seemed to have a joyful ending. Jennifer became pregnant in 1999 after Keanu became a worldwide celebrity thanks to The Matrix. For their first kid, a newborn girl, they eagerly set up a tiny room. Sim Reeves was the name they intended to give Ava Archer. However, fate was unkind. Jennifer was 8 months pregnant when she went into early labor on Christmas Eve 1999. Ava was born stillborn, which means she passed away at birth. In the delivery room, there was a chilly silence instead of a cry. Keanu's soul was irreparably broken by the loss of the child who never breathed. He only ever confided in an interview years later, and he never discussed it much in public. Though it takes different forms, grief never goes away. The shock was too much for the two to handle. Only a few weeks after their daughter's funeral, they split up. There was still a silent connection between them. A love that has no name but is sweet and sorrowful. A second disaster occurred in 2001. After leaving a friend's party, Jennifer was traveling down Cahuenga Boulevard in Los Angeles in her Jeep Grand Cherokee at the break of day on April 2, 2001. She lost control and collided with 3 parked cars while not wearing a seatbelt. Police stated that she passed away immediately. Alcohol and prescription medications were discovered in the car. Jennifer was just 28. She had been heading home to meet Keanu the following morning, according to some close pals. The previous evening, they had discussed re-establishing contact over the phone. However, that meeting never took place. Keanu was shocked to hear the news. After days of silence, he finally made an appearance at the funeral, personally carrying the woman's coffin and burying her next to baby Ava at California's Westwood Village Memorial Park Cemetery. Although the media handled it carefully, Keanu's friends and family claimed he remained numb for months. According to close acquaintances, he lived a solitary life and would spend hours riding his motorbike to get away from the emptiness. Keanu stated, "I miss being a part of their lives and them being part of mine. I wonder what the present would be like if they were here." This was not a statement from a movie star, but rather from a guy who had lost everything he had ever loved in a rare interview with Parade magazine. In 2 years, there were 2 tragedies. Keanu was totally transformed after losing a lover and a child. He opted to live modestly in the midst of Hollywood's bustle, never got married, never had kids, and seldom ever talked about his personal life. He was frequently spotted sitting by himself in parks or on subways, occasionally grinning a little at random people. There were the shadows of 1999 and 2001 behind that serene exterior. The years that robbed him of his once-dreamed future. But Keanu gained a new outlook on life as a result of that suffering. Although pain is a natural part of life, it need not define you. Keanu was unable to make any promises when he first met Diane because of this. Keanu recalled, his voice shaking, "I told Diane that I had to keep my heart from breaking again. I was scared, but I loved her, worried that falling in love would only result in further losses." With her heart wide open, Diane did not give up easily. Keanu was shocked when she knelt down in front of him at a small Santa Monica restaurant one winter night in 2004 and said, "Keanu, marry me. We can live a crazy life. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be us." Keanu felt his heart stop. He wanted to say yes, to take her hand and flee from all the pain, but the memory of Jennifer, her smile, and the pain of losing Ava came flooding back. He shook his head, tears welling up, and said, "Diane, I'm not strong enough." Diane grinned pitifully, got to her feet, and muttered, "Keanu, you're the greatest man I've ever met. You deserve someone who isn't bound by the past, but you must learn to forgive yourself." There was another reason Keanu only now dares to admit: the age gap. "Diane was dazzling, but I felt too young, too naive compared to her," he told E! News in a somber tone. "She lived in a world I wasn't ready to enter. A world of confidence, of stories already fully written. I was still searching for myself." The 18-year difference didn't bother Diane, but for Keanu, it felt like an invisible wall. He feared he couldn't give her what she deserved, that their love might fade with time. So one quiet morning in early 2005, they parted ways over a cup of cold coffee at a small cafe in Venice Beach. Diane hugged him tightly and whispered, "You'll always be someone special. Keanu, don't forget that." After the breakup, they maintained a beautiful friendship, though they didn't see each other often. Diane continued her free-spirited life, adopted 2 children, and never married. Keanu, a solitary wanderer, immersed himself in motorcycles, movies, and quiet acts of charity. They reunited at the 2020 Oscars to present the award for Best Original Screenplay. Their eyes still carried a glimmer of the past, a spark of what if. Director Nancy Meyers posted on Instagram, "Who knows, maybe they really were together." On X, fans dug up old rumors, posting things like, "Diane and Keanu definitely dated. I knew it. And the most beautiful forgotten love story in Hollywood." When Diane passed away, Keanu was in New York preparing for good fortune. The news hit like a punch to the chest. He sat alone in his hotel room, staring at the bustling city below, remembering the days they laughed together on set and the handwritten letters from Diane that he still kept in a small wooden box. At the premiere, he added, "Diane taught me that love doesn't need to be perfect, simply sincere. Though I know she's grinning and still singing Beatles songs elsewhere, I regret not having the courage to walk that route with her. There have been too many catastrophes in Keanu Reeves' life for one guy to ever entirely recover from. How steady is his career now, or is it merely surviving?" Together, let's continue our exploration. On September 2nd, 1964, Keanu Charles Reeves was born into a cosmopolitan household in Beirut, Lebanon. His father, Samuel Nolan Reeves Jr., was a Hawaiian man of Chinese and Portuguese ancestry, and his mother, Patricia Taylor, was a costume designer from England. Keanu's father abandoned the family when he was just 3 years old, leaving his mother and him to move about a lot, first from Australia to New York and then to Toronto, Canada. Keanu didn't have a quiet upbringing. He attended 4 different high schools before dropping out before graduating due to dyslexia. But in the middle of all the chaos, Keanu fell in love with theater and films, which were places where he felt like he belonged. Small parts on Canadian television in the early 1980s marked the beginning of Keanu Reeves' acting career. He played a hockey player in the 1986 sports movie Youngblood, which was based on a boyhood fantasy of his. Keanu then started a protracted and difficult career in the American film industry by relocating to Los Angeles in order to explore more prospects. Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, a time travel comedy that made Keanu a household figure among young viewers, was his debut in 1989. At the end of the 1980s, he rose to prominence in Hollywood because of his endearingly silly style and innate innocence. Keanu demonstrated that he was more than just a comic actor by the early 1990s. In 1991, he co-starred with his late close friend River Phoenix in the art film My Own Private Idaho, which was about 2 young men on the run. He gave a powerful performance. He made his foray into the action genre that same year when he acted in Point Break, a gripping thriller involving an undercover police officer and a group of surf robbers. However, it wasn't until 1994's Speed that Keanu became a true A-list celebrity. He became well known throughout the world for playing Officer Jack Traven with Sandra Bullock, solidifying his reputation as Hollywood's newest action star. Keanu Reeves' career reached its zenith in 1999 when he portrayed Neo, the Chosen One, in a revolutionary cyber world in The Matrix. With its bullet time effects, the movie not only transformed action cinema, but also elevated Keanu to a worldwide cultural hero. His reputation as a key figure in sci-fi action filmmaking was cemented when he starred in 3 follow-ups. Keanu demonstrated his versatility as an actor by experimenting in a variety of genres after The Matrix, including drama, The Devil's Advocate, 1997 romance Sweet November, 2001 and horror Constantine, 2005. Keanu Reeves made a triumphant return in the 2010s with the John Wick franchise in 2014. After his dog, a last present from his late wife, was killed, he changed into a retired assassin in his 50s and was lured back into the underworld. A new action epic was started by the stoic yet deeply felt character of John Wick, who enthralled both critics and viewers. After years of stagnation, the series not only brought Keanu's career back to life, but it also made him Hollywood's everlasting star. Keanu Reeves is a multi-talented individual in addition to his acting career. He produced a number of independent films, directed Man of Tai Chi, 2013, and played bass in the rock group Dog Star. Keanu is well known for leading a modest life despite his enormous riches. He was frequently spotted eating by himself, taking the tube, or giving most of his earnings to stunt performers and special effects teams. One of his quotes is, "Money is the last thing I think about. I could live on what I've already made for centuries." Behind that gentle smile lies a life full of loss. In 1993, River Phoenix, his best friend, passed away from a drug overdose. In the early 2000s, both his partner and daughter, Jennifer Sim, passed away suddenly. Although Keanu hardly ever discusses these sufferings, his calm generosity has elevated him to a position of compassion in the entertainment industry. Fans adore him not just because he is Neo or John Wick, but also because he is resilient, sincere, and unfazed by adversity, just like them. His personal life is characterized by loss and loneliness in contrast to his brilliant job. Keanu has never been married, not even in his 50s. He rarely talks about relationships, maintains a high level of privacy, and keeps his personal and professional lives apart. When questioned about marriage in numerous interviews, Keanu merely responds with a smile and the succinct statement, "I'm not married." This captures the core of who he is. The most talked about love in Keanu's life was with Jennifer Sim, the stunning assistant director he met in the late 1990s. They were calm, considerate, and noise-free. They were expecting their first child, a girl named Ava Archer Sim Reeves, in 1999. However, tragedy struck while she was still in the womb. Their relationship was destroyed by the loss, and months later, in April 2001, Jennifer passed away in a vehicle accident. Keanu Reeves has been virtually isolated from the media ever since he physically carried her casket at the funeral. According to many who know him, he bears an unsaid pain that is engraved in his eyes and soul by too much silence. Keanu found friendship with visual artist Alexandra Grant after years of being alone. Before coming public together in 2019, the two had been pals for a long time and worked together on art book projects. They have a mature, peaceful, and respectful relationship. Despite rumors that they were secretly married, both denied it, claiming they were content without a formal marriage license. According to Alexandra, he has a kind and beautiful heart. That's what makes me believe in love. Keanu Reeves has never adopted and has no children since his 1999 loss. Nonetheless, many claim that he frequently acts as a godfather and has strong ties to his friends' kids. Keanu is regarded as a silent protector who is always nice, there, and providing warmth to everyone around him, despite never having become a father in the conventional sense. He may have been kinder and more understanding of love and sorrow as a result of the severe scars from his life. The ongoing catastrophes changed Keanu entirely. He lived more quietly than ever after withdrawing from the glitzy events in Hollywood. Keanu is now seen by the audience as a man who has been molded by sadness rather than merely as Neo or John Wick, someone who is more silent than famous. One of his most poignant and memorable lines is, "Grief doesn't go away. It just changes shape." He said this in response to a question about sadness, a mirror of the depth of emotion he has learned from life itself. Keanu Reeves is currently among Hollywood's richest and most modest movie stars. His estimated net worth as of 2025 is approximately $380.4 million USD, mostly from personal assets, royalties, and film fees. He received more than $120 million USD in back-end profit sharing from the Matrix franchise alone. A very uncommon character in the acting world. Furthermore, he has been able to sustain his A-list position for almost 30 years thanks to films like Speed, Constantine, John Wick, and The Devil's Advocate. But in contrast to many of his equally well-known contemporaries, Keanu opts for a modest lifestyle, eschewing extravagant luxury or shows of riches. Keanu's primary home is in Los Angeles' Hollywood Hills. Acquired in 2003 for approximately USD 4.6 million, it is currently worth more than $8 million. The contemporary property, which is more than 500 square meters in size and has expansive city views, is simple and serene in design, perfectly reflecting his serene disposition. Keanu also has a $3 million USD flat in New York that he mostly utilizes for work or to go to events on the East Coast. In addition to real estate, Keanu is a motorcycle enthusiast and co-founder of Arch Motorcycle Company, a manufacturer of upscale handcrafted motorbikes. Rare models like the Norton Commando, Kawasaki Ninja ZX-10R, Ducati 9998 Matrix Reloaded Edition, and most notably the Arch KR GT1, which was created by his own firm, are part of his personal collection. He also owns a few supercars, such as the Bugatti Veyron and Porsche 911 Carrera, but he hardly ever shows them off in public. Keanu routinely commutes, eats out, and travels alone, frequently taking public transit, even though he has hundreds of millions of dollars. He is still seen lending his seat to strangers on the tube or resting peacefully in a park. He has the loving moniker, the nicest guy in Hollywood, because of his genuineness and modesty. Even after experiencing innumerable catastrophes, Keanu Reeves has maintained his kindness. He has covertly given stunt artists and visual effects teams millions of dollars from his own income. He thinks they are the ones who make films magical. He has financed anonymous cancer hospitals, purchased motorcycles for the Matrix stunt crew, and has frequently been seen assisting the needy on Los Angeles streets without any publicity. Fans have referred to him as the most compassionate person in Hollywood because of his simplicity, humility, and compassion. Keanu Reeves hasn't entirely avoided controversy despite his soft demeanor. After attending a charity event hosted by a foundation that supports Tibet in 2022, he was placed on a Chinese blacklist. Consequently, a number of his films, including Speed and The Matrix, were taken down from popular Chinese streaming services. Keanu, however, didn't answer or defend himself. He made the courageous decision to remain silent, which is a reflection of his guiding concept. Never confrontational, never submissive. Even at the beginning of his 60s, Keanu is in remarkable physical shape. He did, however, disclose in a recent interview that he once broke his kneecap while filming, saying it broke like a potato chip. He had to rest and wear a knee brace for a period as a result of the injury. In addition to acting, Keanu is back with his rock group Dog Star, where he played bass in the 1990s. Now that Diane Keaton has reached the end of her life, Keanu Reeves is now brave enough to talk about what he had been silent about for more than 20 years. That a true love previously existed between them. The tale of two lost souls who reunited under the lights of a movie set is neither Arimer nor a Hollywood publicity gimmick. People are still in awe of this story even after all these years. Because a happy ending isn't always necessary for love. For the world to believe in it, it only needs to be profound enough. How about you? Do you adore Diane Keaton and Keanu Reeves? The real-life love story of the two individuals who gave us Something's Got to Give ended up being even more lovely than the film. Post your comments below. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to hear more touching Hollywood tales and the backstories.